Today I'm going to introduce the distributive property, which at first might seem a little complicated to you, but with practice it becomes pretty second nature and simple to you. So what the distributive property states is that when you have A times the quantity B plus C, that is the equivalent to A times B plus A times C. So I'm going to go through and explain this a little bit to you, but in other words, all we're saying is if we distribute the A times the B and then add it to A times the C, we would get the same result as if we just followed order of operations and did the parentheses first and then multiplied. So you can actually distribute the A and do A times B plus A times C, and that would give you an equivalent result. So we'll spend a little time exploring this here. So you might recall from earlier lessons when we simplified algebraic expressions that to add or subtract algebraic terms you must have like terms. So in other words, 2x plus 3x equals 5x, but 2x plus 2y is as simple as we can get, because 2x and 2y are not like terms, therefore we cannot add them, and we must leave the expression as it stands, 2x plus 2y. So we'll need to review that a little bit because this is going to apply as we continue on through the distributive property. So again, remember that to add or subtract terms, they must be like terms. That's different, though, when we get to multiplying. So we can multiply any terms, whether they're like or unlike. So 2x times 2 actually gives us 4x. So you might remember that 2x just means 2 times x. So we could think of this as 2 times x times 2. So now we just have 2 times x, which is really just 4x. 3 times x is 3x. So they do not need to be like terms to multiply them. 4y times 5 is 20y. And then negative 2 times 3t, negative 6t. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, times t is t, so negative 6t. Negative 2 times t times negative 1 is 2t. And finally, 6x times 5 is, hopefully you got it, 30x. Okay, so just to review, to add or subtract terms, they must be like terms. However, to multiply terms, they can be like terms or unlike terms. It doesn't matter, we can multiply all terms. Now, for the distributive property. Recall at the beginning I stated that A times the quantity B plus C is equivalent to just distributing the A and saying A times B plus A times C. So let's apply this to something that you can make a little more sense of. 2 times the quantity 1 plus 3. So I can actually restate this and say it's equivalent. The distributive property tells me that this is equivalent to just saying 2 times 1, that's what I did here, plus 2 times 3. That's where I came here. So I just want to prove to you now that these are equivalent. So on the left side here, I would follow order of operations, and I would say 1 plus 3 is 4. And when I have a 2 outside the parentheses here, that means to multiply. So this is just 2 times 4, which is just 8. And so over here, I'll follow order of operations again, and let's make sure we get 8, just to prove that these are equivalent. So 2 times 1 is 2. I have to do that first. Multiply and divide from left to right. So 2 plus, I still have a 2 times 3 here. I still have some multiplication to perform. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and get 6. So now I have 2 plus 6. And yes, that is also 8. So I have proven that these are equivalent. And I've proven that, yes, the distributive property does work. So 2 times the quantity, 1 plus 3, does give me an equivalent expression to if I just distribute the 2 and say 2 times 1 plus 2 times 3. So let's explore this a little further. So 4 times the quantity, 5 plus 2 would be equivalent to, let's just distribute the 4. And the equivalent expression is 4 times 5 plus 4 times 2. Now if the directions asked you to simplify also, from here you would just have to follow order of operations and simplify this. So 20 plus 4 times 2, which is 20 plus 8, so we get 28 here. If the directions just ask you to rewrite the expression using the distributive property, you can stop at this point. If it asks you to rewrite and simplify, you'll just need to continue to here. Okay, so the next one, we can distribute the negative 2. So negative 2 times 6 plus negative 2 times 3. So if I were asked to rewrite this using the distributive property, I would simply rewrite negative 2 times 6 plus negative 2 times 3. If the directions just asked me to rewrite using the distributive property, at this point I would be done. If it asked me to rewrite and then simplify, I would have to go ahead and perform my multiplication and addition here. So I'll just do that, and I get negative 12 plus negative 2 times 3. I still have to multiply, so I get negative 12 plus negative 6. And so this gives me negative 18. Okay. Now let's try to apply this to, actually I noticed I meant to write one of these differently here, so let me revise this page a little bit here. This one was supposed to have an A in it. Okay, so I guess I used the wrong color, but that's not, there we go. Okay, so let's try and distribute here. So this was, let's distribute 5 times the quantity A plus 6. So I'm going to distribute the 5 times A plus 5 times 6. So I'm going to rewrite this guy using the distributive property, 5 times A plus 5 times 6. 5 times A is just 5A, and 5 times 6 is 30. These are not like terms, so that is as simplified as I can get. The next one's a little tricky here. We'll give it a shot. I threw in some negatives, but let's distribute the negative 6. So negative 6 times 5A is negative 30A minus negative 6 times 2 gives me negative 12. Actually, I did that one in one step. I probably should have written it out for you. Probably should have written the steps instead of just solving it. So I probably should have written negative 6 times 5A minus negative 6 times 2, because that's really what I did. And then from there I simplified. Negative 6 times 5A gave me that. Negative 6 times 2 gives me that. And then you may want to rewrite this as plus 12, but you could leave it alone if you wanted to. This one was a little tricky. I'm not sure why I stuck it in there at this point. So if that one confused you at this point, let's not worry too much about it. Let's just move on and make sure we're understanding the distributive property. When you get good at these, you'll start to do what I did here, where you go straight to this point, skipping this point, skipping this part. But if the directions actually tell you to rewrite using the distributive property, you cannot skip the steps here. So be careful of that, like I just did accidentally here because I was distracted. Okay, let's move on to the next set of examples. Okay, so here's 3a times the quantity 4 plus 3, and if we were to use the distributive property here, I'm going to change colors. Okay. So let's distribute the 3a. So what we're going to do is 3a times 4 plus 3a times 3. And now we need to simplify. So 3a times 4 is 12a plus 3a times 3 gives me 9a. And those are actually like terms, so I can go a final step here. And 12a and 9a is 21a. So that would be rewritten using the distributive property and then simplified. And the next one here, we're going to distribute the 5. So 5 times 6a plus 5 times 5a. So I rewrote using the distributive property. Now I'm going to simplify by multiplying. 30a plus 25a. I want to check and see, am I simplified? Oh, I have some like terms here, so I'm not fully simplified. I can still add 30a and 25a and get 55a. Now I'm fully simplified. 55a. So, rewrite using the distributive property, simplified. Rewrite using the distributive property, simplified. Partially simplified, simplified. Partially simplified, simplified. Okay, so let's review here. The distributive property simply says that if I have a number A times a quantity B plus or minus C, that I can distribute the A and multiply it by each individual term in the quantity. And so A times the quantity B plus C would be equivalent to A times B plus A times C. Remember, you can multiply unlike terms. You can only add or subtract like terms to simplify an expression. Hopefully this has helped you understand the distributive property a little to prepare for class tomorrow. Don't forget to fill out your note sheet, and have a great night.
Knock.
Who's there?
Nana who? Nana.
Nana who?
Nana.
Good one. Okay, that was our knock-knock joke for you tonight. If you can come into school tomorrow and repeat our knock-knock joke, I'll have a bonus point for you just to be silly. So one more time, just in case you missed it. We'll do it again.
Knock.
Who's there?
Neck.
Neck who?
Necklace.
Oh, that was a different one. The first one was Nana. Nana who?
Nana.
Nana. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Do it one more
The
time.
end.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.